Yo, what it is, YouTube? It's your boy Nix coming back with another bullseye of a tutorial here today. I got a real special one right here for y'all. It's gonna be the Money Man vocal tutorial. Let's go ahead and jump into it right now and get to listening to how you can achieve a sound like Money Man. He's actually one of my favorite artists that I've been listening to for many years. So I never really ever seen a vocal tutorial for him. So I decided to go ahead and do one right here. So let's jump into it right away. Let's not waste no time.
Yeah, I'm big money.
You global now.
Yeah, I'm big money. I pull up and pop out your G. Fucking with them killers, they hop out and step on you for free. Told her quit all of that playing, baby, why you teasing me? All my blinks got switches on them so they empty easily. When it got my weight up, niggas think I'm taking creatine, designer jugging. I just served a nigga in the Mary jeans. Yeah, them shoes was fear of God, but I swear they no fear in me. If I go out today, my girl and kid gon' share tears from me. My niggas ain't do no hair, but they might come and go and split your wig. Told my pops and told me anything you do, go do it big. So I went and got them Zaza bags and put them on the rig. We got Pops and we got Drace and we got Glizzy and some Sid.
All right, so that's the Money Man chain right there. Let's listen to it, what it sounds like without it.
Yeah, I'm big money. Easily. When it got my weight up, niggas think I'm taking creatine, designer jugging. I just served a nigga in the Mary jeans. Yeah, them shoes with fear of God, but I swear they no fear in me. If I go out today, my girl and kid gon' share tears from me. My niggas ain't do no hair, but they might come and go and split your wig. Told my pops and told me anything you do, go do it big. So I went and got them Zaza bags and put them on the rig. We got Pops and we got Drace and we got Glizzy and some Sid.
All right, so y'all heard how we started off with a regular home recording, and then we got it down to like, you know, a professional, very well trimmed vocal. So let's look into how we was able to do this Money Man chain. So the very first thing you got to pay attention to is like, what is like the frequency content of the artist that you're working with? You know, some people don't have deep voices, some people do, you know, you got to always pay attention. Like, what are the strengths and the weaknesses of the vocal that I'm working on, right? And let that be your mindset going through the whole entire chain, right? So one thing that I always like to do too is like, I had a situation where the takes were perfect, right? I had the auto-tune settings right here, you know, pretty much something good, something moderate with the 8 retune speed. I was kind of pushing it a lot, right? But I came to some words where I was kind of messing up a little bit. So what I actually did is I went in there and I actually automated my retune speed for certain words. So that's something that I like to do a lot, because sometimes you have the perfect take. Literally everything sounds perfect except for a couple of words. Some people like to go in there and chime it in with Melodyne. I mean, I'm going to do a video on that later down the lines. I haven't really perfected it yet, and I'm not really the type of person that likes to talk about stuff that I don't know. So what I like to do sometimes is I like to go in there with a little bit of automation on the retune speed, right? So there was some certain words that I had kind of messed up on, but still the take was pretty perfect, and you might end up in a situation like that. So it's always good to, you know, maybe you go over here and you automate, maybe even the humanize too, right? So let's look at that real quick.
Yeah, I'm big money.
You global now.
Yeah, I'm big money. I pull up and pop out your G. Fucking with them killers, they.
So those lines specifically right there, I feel like, you know, I didn't hit the note correctly. Sometimes if you're actually recording a person, y'all can go in there and redo the take. But if you have a situation like this where I just completely one take the whole thing, and it's like the whole overall take is good, but certain lines is messed up, you can go in there, automate the retune speed, or even automate the humanize so the auto-tune ain't working too aggressively. And make sure you watch out, because I mean, if it's too like drastic, it would kind of like have a very dramatic sound. So I only try to do it like not too much. Like if the original one was 8, then I'll probably dial it back to like 13 or 15, but make sure you still keep it in the same ballpark, you know? And then, you know, like I said, we're playing to the understanding the vocal. Money Man has a very deep vocal, right? And very boomy, so I had to make my vocal go in there and be deep, right? So I understood that, you know, the human ear, we going off of frequency content in the low end, you know? So when you hear more deepness and bass, it kind of makes everything feel closer to you, right? So I understood that with my EQ that I could be a little bit more aggressive, right? So I had a very, very aggressive high pass filter right here, then a very like kind of like a steep low shelf. And let's kind of listen to what it did.
Yeah, I'm big money.
You global now.
Yeah, I'm big money. I pull up and pop out your G. Fucking with them killers, they hop out and step on you for free. Told her quit all of that playing, baby, why you teasing me? All my blicks got switches on them so they empty easily. When it got my weight up, niggas think I'm taking creatine designer.
So understanding the nature of Money Man's vocal, you know, prior to even like doing any moves, you have to understand the artist's vocal and, you know, adjust accordingly, make all your moves and your vision based on that. So my direction when I was mixing this song is I heard, you know, darkness, you know, like a big castle, like kind of like a big castle, big atmosphere, but very smooth. Yeah, I'm big money. I pull up, pop out your G. And I also understood that, you know, kind of being a swaggy is kind of like, you know, his voice is like monotone, right? So I had to create some of my own excitement with movement. And let's look into that. You know, we have the RVOCs right here, pretty much just, you know, going after, you know, the tightening of the vocal, right, with the gate, because it is a very deep vocal. I wanted to make it sound a little bit tight and not loose. So I did it a very aggressive gate. And, you know, we used the R comp just to really just to add level and to also add, you know, a little bit more thickness, as I just did like a aggressive filter move right there, right? And then we had a pretty typical de-esser, nothing crazy. And then we had the C4. So the interesting thing about the C4 is that I never actually used like the gain, the makeup or the make down gain, but I found myself right here just attacking the lows, you know, through multiple ways. And I went after the mid range, which was very important. I still want to keep the feeling, the impact of the Money Man vocal, but I still had to be somewhat aggressive. So I used the slower release on the mid range and kind of like a kind of quicker attack than I would usually use. And let's just look at how kind of like the multiband was just looking like, how it was rocking.
Quit all of that playing, baby, why you teasing me? All my blicks got switches on them so they empty easily. When it got my weight up, niggas think I'm taking creatine, designer jugging. I just served a nigga in the Mary jeans. Yeah, them shoes will fear a guy, but I swear they no fear in me. If I go out today, my girl and kid gon' share her tears from me. My niggas ain't do no hair, but they might come and go and split your wig. Told my pops and told me anything you do, go do it big.
So it's not like I was really doing too much multi-banding right here on the lowest part of it, but really I was just using the make down gain, just like kind of like using it like another EQ, just kind of cutting away into it. But it's more interesting to me in a situation like this because it still has the dynamic aspect of it. So it's like a hybrid EQ thing I'm doing right there. A little bit of static from right here, the make down gain, but also still getting some of the movement of the lows. So I want my lows to be, you know, kind of like the main focus of my vocal. When I'm recording an artist, I'm thinking, okay, what is like the strength of this person? Is it their mid-range? Is it their low end of their vocal? Is it the top of their vocal? Like, where do I have to go and enhance it and, you know, shine a light on it? You know, that's what I'm always trying to do as an engineer. I'm always trying to shine a bright light on the strengths of the artist, and I'm just trying to not even, you know, I'm trying to minimize, you know, what they're not good at. You know, if they have like a skinny voice, a voice that doesn't have too much low end, well, I'm trying to make sure that's not noticeable to the listener. I'm only trying to highlight and showcase the best qualities, and that's what I was doing with the Money Man vocal. All right, so the very next thing too right here is the SSL channel. Something that I did different right here, which I usually do, I'm not gonna lie, is I used the limiter, the actual limiter version. So that's why the SSL is pretty it's pretty amazing. I used the limiter in the fastest release, and I kind of just did that to add some of that body I was doing. You know, I was kind of losing because, like I said, I was being so aggressive with the filter, so trying to get the bottom of the vocal right, trying to have it still sound strong, right? I was just being so aggressive. So then I found myself in a situation where, you know, I was doing some very narrow cue moves, you know, going in the mid bass and then doing a little low shelf, right? Just kind of like not necessarily cleaning everything up, but just trying to set myself up for success. That's what you have to do. You have to understand the sequence of the plugins and what everything is leading up into, right? So then we had a you know, a filter right here, 104, and you got to understand that the this right here is an 18 dB octave. This right here is a 12 dB octave. So this filter is you know, a little bit more aggressive than this one, right? This one is a little bit more softer. In general, both of them are very moderate, but the main thing about the limiter though is that I just kind of used it to add some of that, you know, abruptness, some of that aggressiveness, because his vocal was monotone. So I have to figure out some ways to create my own type of excitement. You know what I mean? And let's look at how much gain reduction I was doing, and pay attention to my input trim. You know, if you try to do this limiter, you know, or any type of aggressive compression on the SSLE, just make sure that, you know, you pay attention to your input trim, because it will kind of crap out, you know, past this first light.
Quit all of that playing, baby, why you teasing me? All my blicks got switches on them so they empty easily. When it got my weight up, niggas think I'm taking creatine, designer jugging. I just served a nigga in the Mary jeans. Yeah, them shoes was
So not necessarily using it as like a limiter, like a peak limiter or anything like that, but just using it as a limiter to give it a little bit of size, a little bit of abruptness. Yeah, I'm big money. I pull up, hop out your, like that. So he kind of came in monotone, but I'm using the parallel compression to manipulate the tonal characteristics of the vocal. And then next thing we have is the CLA 76. So very important thing I want to talk to you guys about is listening to the beat. There's this thing, I don't remember what it's called, but it's like a thing that people have where you can listen to something and picture a color, right? It's like making the connection between a color and a sound. I'm not necessarily sure what I remember it is, but Michael Jackson's engineer, he had something like that, and myself, I have it as well, right? So when I listen to the beat, right, I kind of let the beat let me know like which type of compressor that I have to use, the dark one or the bright one, right? So pay attention. When we listen to the beat, which color do you think of more? So me, my personal self, when I was hearing that violin, and understanding that the notes of the piano was in the minor, melody, which is like the dark, major chords are kind of happy and bright, but minor, minor chords and minor notes are very dark, right? Me understanding that, I just went with the Blackie just because, like, as an engineer, you got to make it easier for yourself to understand like what tone you're going for, right? So, I mean, maybe somebody else's opinion would be different and say, hey, I visualize the bluey, which is cool too, but just hearing the music, it helped me understand like, what do I have to go for, for the vocal, for the end destination, right? And I went with the Blackie because the Blackie is darker and the music sounded darker, right? So I kind of went with that because it felt right, it's kind of like when you was a baby and you was in elementary school, you have to put the circle block in the circle spot, the square spot, and you have to make it match up. It all has to add and make sense in the end. That's what I'm just trying to say. And let's pay attention to my H delay. I had like a very light feedback. With the monotone vocal, you have to find ways to add excitement. So pay attention. I use this one on mid and this one on stereo. And sometimes, the stereo imaging kind of how you do it will create the separation between the delays, right? And then after that, one thing I have right here that I do want to solo right now is the reverb on the vocal. I use Abbey Road Saturator. So if by any chance you guys do want to get this vocal chain, you just need the basic Waves Gold Bundle, the SSLE, and the Abbey Road Saturator. That's it. And you got the vocal sauce. But let's pay attention too, I'm understanding that the vocal is monotone, so I have to add some of my own excitement, right? And I use that through the reverb, right? Let's look at my reverb chain, right?
My blitz got switches on them so they empty easily. When it got my weight up, niggas think. Told her quit all of that playing, baby, why you teasing me? On my blitz got switches on them so they empty easily. When it got my.
So I'm gonna take off the saturator, and the main reason why I used it is for like the hair. I wanted to give it some thrill. I wanted to give the listener some excitement because the rapper, he was giving them the swag, he was giving them the coolness. So I said, okay, bet, I'm the engineer, I have to add the excitement. So you have to get in where you fit in as an engineer. Understand, oh, okay, maybe I got to give this track swag. Maybe I got to be the one that gives it excitement, right? So let's listen to the reverb real quick. And when you take off the exciter, it just kind of sounded bland. You definitely hear it in the tail, but in the track, the reverb was short, so you couldn't really hear it. You really felt it. So I got to make them feel like there's more energy than what is really there.
Told her quit all of that playing, baby, why you teasing me? On my blitz got switch.
And let's put in the exciter.
Told her quit all of that playing, baby, why you teasing me? On my blitz got switches on them so they empty easily. When it got my weight up, niggas think I'm.
That's a part of the way like people like Tory Lanez also gets his reverb as well, using a saturator going inside of the the reverb chain. So let's listen to it one more time.
Told her quit all of that playing, baby, why you. Told her quit all of that playing, baby, why you teasing me?
So it makes an incremental difference, but for me, it kind of just gave it the energy. And last thing I did with my reverb too is I did a sidechain expander, right? So a compressor reduces the dynamic range, but the expander is actually adding volume. So my crazy self, I was actually adding more volume to the reverb to kind of give it like a pumping effect, right? Yeah, I'm big money, I'll pull up. So let's look at this right here too.
Told her quit all of that playing, baby, why you teasing me? All my blicks got switches on them so they empty easily. When it got my weight up, niggas think I'm taking creatine, designer jugging. I just served a nigga in the Mary jeans. Yeah, them shoes was fair.
So I'm adding somewhere about like 4 dB into the reverb. So I'm making the reverb like go up. It's pretty much called a upwards compressor, right? I think sometimes, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, it would be also called expansion. I'm not necessarily sure, but that's the beautiful thing about the R comp. I mean, this would be compressor, so push it down, but this would be, you know, upwards compression, which means give me more volume for what's not there. Put something in there for me, right? And then after that, we had the MV2, right? So I was just paying attention to how I was being so aggressive with my filtering, but I had to make sure that, you know, just by listening to the 808, I realized that no matter what I did, I had to get the vocal to cut through the mix, and parallel compression is a crazy way of doing that. So you're gonna see right here that most of my vocal sound is actually made up of the parallel compression.
I just served a nigga in the Mary jeans. Yeah, them shoes was fear of God, but I swear they no fear in me. If I go out today, my girl and kid gon' share tears from me. My niggas ain't do no hair, but they might come and go and split your wig. Told my pops and told me anything you do, go do it big. So I went in.
Yeah, so a good part of my vocal sound is made up out of the parallel compression, and I did that strategically because I knew the 808 was hitting so hard, right? And you know, it's always going to be better depending on the beat, right? If it's just only when the 808 is so hard and that thing is thumping that you're going to need like a good amount of parallel compression. Maybe sometimes you want to make most of your vocal sound become the parallel compression, because there are two types of volume. Like your vocal is, you know, your vocal, right? It's a little bit more dynamic, but the parallel compression is concentrated, it's squashed. It's like taking a little, like a knife and just poking it through the song, right? Because you know that when you got that knife poked into the song, like you can't, it's gonna be there. It's a knife. It just cuts through, right? So that's what I did, and I used the V comp, which is a very interesting compressor. It's the Neve 2254 compressor. It originally came from broadcasting back in the day. And you know, it's a very interesting compressor because the compressor comes first, then the limiter. You would actually think it's the other way around, but no, not really, right? And I just use this to add some body, you know, mostly that's what I'm looking for, dense sound. It also does have a very beautiful, you know, tonal and harmonic, you know, way that it adds some richness. It's diode bridge compression, which is a completely different topology from like a optical compressor or effect compressor or, you know, VCA, right? But that's the beautiful thing about this. You know, it's a plugin that also comes with the Waves Gold bundle package. So if you guys want to check it out, you will see the link down below. And then we had another Abbey Road saturator right here, just giving me more saturation, right? It kind of like gave me my brightness rather than me using, you know, boosting EQ. Like right here, I didn't really use any boosting EQ, pretty much, right? And then lastly, let's look at the ad-libs. Nothing crazy. I just had a bunch of aggressive delays, and let's listen to it, what it sound like without it.
Yeah, I'm big money.
You global now.
Yeah, I'm big money. I pull up and pop out your. Yeah, I'm big money. I pull up and pop out your G. Fucking.
So I kind of used it like a one shot, you know, not necessarily all the times ad-libs have to be heard. Sometimes they can be felt, right? And I think it was a very good way that Money Man used that ad-lib very in the beginning to just let the listener know, yeah, I'm big money. You know, sometimes the ad-libs is just can be reinforcement to the message of the song, right? And we use very aggressive H delays, you know, very loud. If you guys do get this template, you know, I'll probably just maybe turn it down a little bit, you know, because maybe that sound doesn't sound good on every song. But I use the bright chamber as well because, you know, the top of my vocal was pretty swaggy. It was pretty big money. I pull up. But now when my ad-libs are coming in, I want it to be big, but also, you know, very crisp. And we can use the high end as well to add some of that excitement. Like, whoa, where did that come in? Yeah, you big money, I get it. You know, I'm using the high frequencies to make it pay attention to it, right? So I reverberated those high frequencies with that bright chamber, and the Abbey Road saturator, you know, just keep, you know, agitating, making everything just so more aggressive. And then the V comp to add some fatness and some density to those ad-libs. So the ad-lib chain was not really that crazy, nothing to really show off, right? I wasn't too aggressive on the top. And let me look at the multiband I used right here.
Yeah, I'm big money. I pull up and.
Yeah, so with the multiband, I only attacked the mid-range just because I kind of felt like, you know, it was starting to get clogged up a little bit. And just the fact that it was actually coming in the same time as the lead vocal, I felt like it was overlapping. It was kind of stepping over, you know, it was kind of stepping over the lead vocal. So what I did is I brought in that multiband, and, you know, you're really only mostly hearing just the top of the ad-lib, right? But I'm doing it dynamically. So when it releases, yeah, I'm big money. Like it feels larger than life, you know, it helps the ad-lib stand out. And then we got the CLA 76, right? Bluey, right? Contrast. You guys know the name of the game, but direct insert all buttons in, right? And I believe the all buttons in has something to also do with the bias current, which is like very insane that I'm learning about right now. Just the bias current, just the way the actual teletronics, the way the the mechanical parts of the 1176 work. It's kind of important for you to at least kind of understand what's going on so you can use it to your advantage. And that goes with all plugins. Then we use the R comp with a very type of low level compression type of vibe. I'm just using this to pull the ad-lib forward, pull everything forward, So, a good amount of the signals coming through, but the way that low ratio is doing, it's just helping gather everything. Then I have it on electro, which is that another 1176. So back to back 1176s, but doing different amounts of work.
Yeah, I'm big money. I pull up and pop out your G, fucking with them killers. Yeah, I'm big money. I pull up and pop out your. Yeah, I'm big money. I pull up and pop.
So it kind of makes an incremental difference, but to me, it just helped the feeling of helping the ad-lib sit. It kind of just made it sound a little bit more tighter, right? But with not using EQ, using compression, just kind of gathering everything, telling the whole signal, hey, everybody, let's get together and let's shoot. Yeah, I'm big money. You know what I mean? So yeah, pretty much that's all that I got for the tutorial today. If you guys are interested in it, the link is down below. If you do have any more ideas for content, drop it down below. I'm more than happy to get to it. Just want to say thanks a lot for being a great part of my YouTube family. Appreciate y'all now. Peace.